Hi there, it's Karen here from Turquoise Treasures, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. Using up my scraps. I saw a video recently that Gail Agostinelli did. You may have seen it. Wasn't that long ago, when she made fabric covers out of fabric scraps. Made lovely journal covers out of fabric scraps. And I watched her video and I thought, yes, that looks lovely, but it's not something that I felt particularly an urge to do. But then I went and watched the video that she said she'd seen originally by Gina from the Firefly Studio 67. And when I watched her video, she did something a bit different. She did make the journal covers, but she also made, cut it into shapes, the fabric that she'd made, into heart shapes. And I just thought, hearts, hello, I'm making a wedding journal, I've got to do this. So I went ahead and had a go just to see how it worked out. I had to buy the embroidery stabilizer stuff, the roll, to be able to do it, and that's why I ummed and ahed to start with. But I just loved what she made, so I had to go and made this in my favourite colours, as you probably could guess that this would be my favourite colour scheme. And I just love how this has turned out. I'm going to have a go in a little while at cutting out the heart that she did. But first of all, I thought I'd just make a start on doing mine, or do my my one for my wedding, the fabric snips things for my wedding journal. I'll just show you briefly what I've used to make it. The embroidery stabilizer comes on a roll like this, and it does say very clearly on the packaging, please keep it in a dry and closed bag. I think it's because it obviously dissolves very easily if it gets damp. It looks to me different to what Gail and Gina used, and maybe that's just because that's what's available in this country. But it works exactly the same. This is much clearer. It's more like a plastic. It feels like a plastic, and it's clear. Whereas theirs looked a bit more. Once they covered it over, it looked more like almost like a muslin-y effect. You know, it was just more opaque. Well, not completely opaque, but wasn't as clear as the one I've used anyway. But it works perfectly well. That's why I needed to try it, because when it came I thought this looks different, so I had to have a go, of course. It takes a hell of a lot of sewing. It is one of the reasons I had a couple of days ago I had to take a day out and just do nothing, sit in front of my new Netflix subscription channel, and just watch a load of shows, because it really, all the sewing really kills my shoulder. It's because I have to hold my arm up to feed things through. So I will probably make this video over in a few sections to kind of be able to rest my shoulder in between, but I'm really determined to do it because I just love the effect. I think it's gorgeous. You can see this, it's just covered in sewing. I don't know if you can see that because I used a pail, but it's actually covered in sewing. It's a bit like looks a bit quilted, except it's much thinner than a quilting, so it's quite good for using in the journals. So I'm very excited to start cutting this up. And the other thing I thought I'd try, which I don't know if it'll work, but I will try in a little while when I can get at my my electronic die cutter. I'm going to try putting it through a die cutter. I've got a big heart, one of the Sizzix heart-shaped dies, and I'm going to try die cutting it, because if I can do other shapes as well, which would be quite exciting. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely to have some flowers made out of this? But I don't know if it'll work. I really don't. So I'm going to give it a try, and I'll show you the results a bit later on. But I want to get started on this one. So as you can see, I have cut out like a gazillion scraps of the colours in the sort of peaches and pinks and pastel-y colours that I want to use, because that's the colours of my journal. And so I'm just going to start laying on the shapes, really, laying on the little pieces of fabric. That's all you have to do. It's a very, very easy, quite a therapeutic process, really, just laying on the fabrics. And so you can see I've got a mixture of pinks and peachy colours, because I want both, and even there might even be the odd splash of blue, just because I don't really know what colour my my nephew's future wife's bridesmaids are going to be, even if the wedding goes ahead. I mean, at the moment it's looking a little bit dodgy, really, to be quite honest, because we all have to travel over to Rhodes, one of the Greek islands, for this wedding, and yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to go. I mean, it's in June, so we've got a bit of time, and it may be possible. So, you know, we're hoping that it will still go ahead. And you know, I think my nephew's fiance is just keeping as positive as she can that this will happen. I mean, they booked this 2 years ago, I think, and who knew at that time that we'd be in this situation. Sorry, I might be off screen a bit there. So yeah, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for them that this will be able to go ahead, and we'll be able to go out there and have a week in the sun, because I think we'll all be ready for it by then. But we just don't know. So we haven't dared to book any accommodation yet. I know my sister has booked her accommodation because they booked it, you know, quite a while ago. But we were a bit late to the party just because we didn't feel we needed to book it quite as early as they did. And then, of course, last year when we would have probably done something about it, we were, you know, COVID happened and we didn't know what was going on. So nothing has yet been booked in the way of accommodation, but I think if it goes ahead, hopefully we won't have too much problem booking somewhere to stay. Who knows? But it would be, it's quite a nice thing to kind of think about for that might be up ahead for us. So yeah, keep all our fingers crossed. Right, just popping on. There's no method to this really. It's just filling in the gaps. I've got a few darker pieces of the pink, but I don't want to I just want a little flash here and there of deeper colours, but the predominant colour scheme is going to be pastel, and then it'll go anyway really. So a lot of it we cut because I'm going to put a lot of laces and things on afterwards. So this is like a base layer really. You just have to cover every part of the fabric. This is just a piece of cotton fabric. Getting a bit low on it now. I've used it quite a bit for different things. It was like a table runner. I can't even remember where I picked it up. Probably in a charity shop, which is where I get most of my fabrics. Well, I used to, in the days when we could visit such places. But I'm just using, I mean, I have collected quite a few pieces, and then there's a few bits here from some of the vintage fabrics I picked up from Etsy, from the Lulu Retro shop that I mentioned in a previous video. So some of these fabrics are from there, and yeah, just all over the place. There's even a little pack of little 4x4 squares, I think it was, just a great pack of them from Amazon right at the start when I was looking for small pieces of fabric before I'd really had a chance to build up any kind of collection or go to Etsy. The first place I visited was Amazon and got a few little squares, and some of these are from there, and they're lovely and they're very pretty. They work very well in this. So I think what I'll do, my hope is that I will get this whole thing done in one video. So it's one of those videos I should probably have to keep stopping and starting, because I don't really edit, but I don't have a problem with joining bits of video together. I've done it several times before. In fact, I have to do it because otherwise all my videos would only be able to be half an hour long, and I can't get anything done in half an hour. It's just not possible. So I always have to join together at least 2 videos, and sometimes a third one if I go a little bit over or if I have to pause for any reason. So what I'll do is I will pause this now and then come back when I've finished the covering all of this, and then we'll do the next bit, which is the laces and the pretty bits that go on. They're going to go on the top, and then with any luck then you'll see the whole process in one video, even though it might take me a couple of days to get it finished, because I have to, once I've done it all, and then it's got to be sewn, and then it will have to be rinsed off, and then it has to be dried, so it'll take at least a couple of days, if not longer, to get this video completed. But at least hopefully you'll see it all in one video. Okay, so I'll be back very soon. I am back. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a nice coverage now on the fabric, and I've still got a gazillion pieces, but I'll be able to use them when I'm making my snippet rolls, which I still plan to make fairly soon, and I shall probably do that on camera as well, so I'll save those. But I'm going to pick out, I've got a few bits of lace here that I haven't used yet, which I might cut up and use. Just pick those out from the rest of the bits, and a bit there and a bit there, and I've got a bright pink piece here which I may just cut up into smaller pieces, and a bit more here. I've got bits of lace all over the place ready to pop on here, and a few other bits. I don't suppose I'll need a huge amount, and that bit and that bit. Right, I think that's it. I'll put those aside. Okay, so now I'm going to add a few bits of lace and some, I've got some bits of ribbon I want to add. So just pop these around, because that'll give it that lovely decorative look that we need for our wedding journal. But I think even if I wasn't making a wedding journal, I mean, I had lace and ribbon on the other one as well. I think it's you need that bit of extra something, extra texture to add to these sort of things anyway. So it's not just because it's a wedding journal that I'm putting lace on. It would have gone on anyway. But I think it's the colours really that should make it fit in with what I'm doing. Sorts of little snippets of bits and pieces, some white, some cream, and a few more pinky ones. Oop. And a bit of this. Because once you sew around it, it all sorts of blends in together. A little bit of this. It's also that really pretty coral colour, which I love. So, a bit of that there. Yeah, so last night we had a lovely family video call with the girls, which we haven't done for a few weeks. We've done, chats with them individually, one at a time, but it's something we did quite a lot leading up to Christmas, and we haven't really done as much just because of circumstances, and we haven't got around to it. We just thought, oh, it'd be nice to have a three-way call. We do it on WhatsApp, and so we can all chat and talk about what's going on in our lives. Well, there wasn't much for me and Richard to talk about because there's not really much going on in our lives particularly, but it's lovely to hear what they, really how their jobs are going, because they're both working from home, and to get an update on our little granddaughter. Always love to hear about what she's getting up to. I hope she's not forgetting us, because we're not going to see her very often, well, at all. We haven't seen her for a couple of months now, so yeah, we miss them all. We miss them all a lot. So it does help just to have a face-to-face chat with them. Although sometimes when you've seen them, it makes you miss them all, doesn't it? Okay, right. Got a bag of lacy bits. These are all stuff I used years ago when I used to do card making. Because all the lace is gathered, so it's not something I used to use at all in my scrapbooking. But if I cut it off the gather, I might be able to use a bit of this. So I used to scour the little the markets looking for gathered lace, and now I have no use for it, because I used to do like decoupage type cards, and I used to use the lace to go round the shapes and make pretty ovals and that kind of thing. That was many years ago, before I discovered scrapbooking. That was more than, I started scrapbooking about 15 years ago, maybe. Yeah, so I suddenly thought, oh, I really need to try and find a way of using some of this lace. It's very pretty. It's just it doesn't lie flat. But if you cut off the top, it will lie flat. A bit of there. This is a really pretty one. I like this. I probably would have a little session and just sit and cut off all the tops off this, so I can add it to my stash. Bit there. What else was I going to use? I've got some, excuse me, fabric, some ribbons in here. Oh, where's my box? I've got a box with bits that I've put aside. Probably don't need that much more now. I've got some velvet ribbon, which I thought might be quite nice. Just little pieces of that. What else have I got in here? I've got more lace, which I think I've used what I need of the lace. And I've got this. Some of this is going to go on. I've actually got some, what do they call it, eyelash trim. I didn't even know I had eyelash trim. I've heard so many people talking about it. And I thought, well, that's not something I've ever come across. But apparently I have. I just didn't know I had it. And I'm also going to put some gold thread around it, which I thought would just give it a little glint and a little bit of luxury look, you know, a little bit of extra sparkle. That would be quite nice for a wedding journal. I'm just going to lay on a few bits of the velvet. It's just all sort of bits of luxury textures, isn't it? I've just got to make sure when I'm sewing that I capture all of these little narrow bits. That's the tricky part. So just do one more, I think. It's such a pretty colour, and it's that lovely warm pink that goes well with the peach and the pink colours in this. Okay, put that across there. That can go up there. It's a bit random really, but of course when you start cutting it down you probably only get one piece just going across. And then I've got this satin ribbon in the peach. So I'm going to put a bit of that on as well. Here and there. Not too much. It's going to be quite a challenge to make sure I get all these bits in, because when I did the turquoise one, and that is a bit smaller, this is a slightly bigger one. Even once I'd taken off the backing, I had to go sew over. There were lots of little sticky up bits. Even now, if you can look, even now there's the odd bit the odd little tufty bit, but that's fine as long it's not going anywhere. But there were because I put ribbon on and stuff, and you have to go over it several times to make sure it's really caught down, to feel that it's secure, that if you start cutting it up, you're not going to have bits falling off. But I think we're okay with this one now, but I did have to sew over it a lot. So I imagine this one will be no different. Okay, one more little piece of the ribbon, maybe. Okay, there. Right, now what else was I going to use? Got my, oh yes, my fluffy bits. Some bits of this, so I might try and use a little bit of the eyelash trim as well. Now I know I've got it. Mind you, it's tricky stuff to use, I think. Okay, drape it over there. Oh, that's so pretty. This is a very pale peachy colour, but then there's a slightly deeper one here as well. I'll put a bit of that on if I can find a way to unravel it. I've got a few bits of fluffy bits here. It could be a challenge to find it, even find the end. Aha! Something's coming. Okay, cut a piece of that off. Okay. Looks deeper when it's all rolled up together, but it's... Is that the same? Might even be the same one, I'm not sure. No? Oh, I've got two ends. I think it's actually the same one. I've just picked the two ends from the same one. That's a bit daft. Never mind. I thought it was a different one. It's because it looks darker when it's all... Oops, it's sticking up. It looks darker when it's all rolled around the card. So... there was another one I was thinking of using. There's this one. It's hard to choose really which ones to use. A couple of bits of this, I think. Put that there. Just doesn't have to lie flat or straight. It can just be in a little clump. Is that enough? Could be enough. It's one of those things you could just keep going. You just keep adding and adding and adding. Just wondering if I need a bit more lace. Let's see if I've got any more little bits I might want to add in my scrap box. Okay, there. I think that might be enough, she says, searching to see if there's anything else. Put that there. I've got to stop. It's addictive. You just want to keep adding. It's looking really pretty. Now my final flourish or whatever, I've got this gold thread. So it'll be subtle. Well, it'll be subtle unless I overdo it, of course. But I thought I might just weave this about, so it'll just capture, you know, a little bit of sparkle here and there. Right, just weave it about. Ooh. Let's see. I hope it'll be fairly subtle, just a little touch here and there. I'll put a bit more on. Okay, it's all flattened down. So, is that going to be enough? I think so. I think I've got a fair bit of prettiness on there. Right. Okay. So what I've got to do, I've got my stabilizer stuff ready cut. So I've just got to pin it all around the edge. Okay, now I think I'll just pause here. I'll pin it all around and I'll come back and show you the starting of the sewing process. Because it's quite tricky doing this, pinning it, and it might take me a little while, so it's not something I feel, if we're going to get this done in one video, I need to do some of these things off camera. But it's not that hard to work out how it's done, and I'll show you when I've finished. I'll come back. Okay, so it's all pinned all around the edge. You have to pin it fairly close together to make sure, because it's just the idea is you sew around the sides and it stops everything falling out, but you've still got to keep it fairly flat to stop them sliding about inside. But it seemed to work quite well last time, so fingers crossed it will this time. But before I go bring the sewing machine over and make a start on doing that, I just thought we might have a go at cutting. I've cut a square out of my bigger piece of turquoise. Might have a go at, I don't know whether to do, I'm going to do it the way Gina did it and hope it works by doing it in a half a heart. The other way would be to open it out and go around the whole thing, but I thought I'll try and do it this way. I tried to pin it on, but it just went all skew with, so I'm just going to try and do it exactly how she did it, and let's see how it works. So I've got it double thickness, which makes it a bit tricky to cut. So it takes its, just do it a bit at a time and turn it and try not to move it. I've got some other scissors I could try. Just thought these might be a bit stronger. It is cutting, it's just a bit slow. Let's keep going. Let's try and get this heart. Got to find ways of doing this, and then a bit later on when I can get at my, oh, it's got a bit stuck. Might try my other scissors, see if they work any better. This was always the danger, the cutting out. I may be better off doing it in opened out. If I can't get it to cut this way, I'll open it out and try and cut it the other way. No, it's not working. It's too thick. Okay, so I've made a start. And maybe if it's like this, I can pin it on without it shifting. I think it was all just too thick. It's not that hard to cut really because it's not that thick, but doubled over. Just a bit too much for my scissors, I think. Or it might have been just me. I think the nice thing about doing it in half is that I might have been able to have a heart-shaped aperture as well, which would have been quite nice, but I could have used both bits, but this could probably be used for the snippets, or something. Let's just get this finished. Scissors just sort of jam. There we go. I've got a thicker layer here, I think. Come on. You can do it. That's it. Okay. Right, let's see what we've got. There we are. How pretty is that? I love that. I just love this whole idea. I'm still not sure if it's going to work on the die cutting machine, but I'm going to give it a try. So at some point during this video, probably a bit later on, I'll come back after I've made an attempt. So at the moment I haven't used it for so long, it's all tucked away in a corner, it's got stuff all around it, so I'll have to pull it out to be able to use it. So I want to get as far as I can today in this video, in this part of the video, and then when I come back for the second part, when this has all been sewn and dried, I'll show you the results of my test on using the die cutting machine. Okay, so first thing I need to do is start sewing. Actually, I think I'm going to take this away because it just adds another, it makes it a bit uneven to put the sewing machine on. Okay, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see what's going on. I won't show you the whole process, but let's see how we go. Try and keep as near to the edge of the fabric as you can. But if you fall off the fabric, which I think I did once at least on the other one, you can just come back on and go over it again, because there's so much sewing on this, it won't notice that there's a bit of jaggedy sewing going on around the edge. So I should put them straight back in the pin cushion, really, shouldn't I? Keep them all from rolling around. It did surprise me that this actually works as well as it does. But I thought it would all... Whoops, it's all getting scrunched up. She says, speaks too soon. I'm going to have to pull this forward a bit, I'm sorry. Otherwise it's all getting caught up on the tripod. Okay. So it's sewing, it's coming in quite well. You just try and keep it as taut as you can. I mean, I did get a bit of buckling, but of course all of this is going to go, so it doesn't really matter. But the closer to the edge you can get, the more pieces you capture. Right, that's the first bit of sewing done. So I'll just show you how it looks after that. So it is a little bit puckered here and there, but as I say, the bit that's puckered is the mesh on top, and that's all just going to disappear. So the idea is just to capture everything inside and try and keep it flat so that it doesn't move around. Can't do anything about it now, so I've got to be really careful. But that's how it looks at the moment, and I think if I quickly turn it, just look around across the edge. So I've caught it all that side, caught the fabric that side, just check this side, yep, caught it all the fabric that side and this side. So that's good, because that means I haven't got off the edge, so that's great. So I'm just going to start doing my first what do you call it, first pass going across the middle. And this, you can just do this for as much as you like, because the more you do, obviously, the better it'll all stay in place. So I generally started, when I would do it, I mean, I don't know what I don't suppose there's any rule in it, but I tended to start always from a side, so that they'd be, so the ends would be easy to trim off. Start from a side or a corner, and I'd end up another side somewhere. Right. Just lift my needle. Okay. So that was just a start. Okay. So that's just, I've just gone round and round, but you need to keep going over and over and over. You see, if you look on the back, I've barely started really. It needs full coverage. Like on the back of this one, it's absolutely everywhere. So it takes a while, and I have to keep stopping because after a while you can hear my sewing machine starting to protest. So I think I need to kind of every now and again stop, and it did get itself in a bit of a got a bit tangled up at one point when I was doing the other one. So, but it's a case of just keep coming back and just keep going. And I mean, I've got just an ordinary sewing machine, doesn't do any fancy stitches or anything, so it works quite well just with that. You don't need a sewing machine that does freeform stitching or anything like that. But if you have, of course, it's obviously much easier. So there we are. So when I come back, I will show you this all finished and rinsed off and dried, and see the final effect. And I'll also show you how this went going through the die cutting machine. Okay, so I'll see you again soon. I just thought I'd pop back just briefly to show you how this looks once I've done all the sewing that I'm planning to do. You can see it's really covered in sewing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from the back, but I found that if I wasn't sure if I'd done enough, I just look at the back and see where there were any gaps. And as far as I can see, there might be a little bit of a gappage here, but I'm hoping that I've cooled down enough, and then I can always do a bit more sewing after it's been rinsed off and dried, which I did before. But I just thought you might like to see how this all looks. It's very, it's all scrunched up, and I can't wait to see how it looks when all the mesh has been washed off. So I'll be back in very shortly to show you how it all finished up. Okay, so it's now the next morning, and as you can see, it's all dry and finished and gorgeous. Love it. I think it's so pretty. It's a little bit wrinkly, but that doesn't matter. It gives it a bit more texture. But as you can see, there's quite a few bits still haven't quite been caught down, even though I sewed like crazy. I've got over and over a bit. So I am going to just have to go over a few places a bit more. There's a couple of bits of the gold thread that are not quite caught down, so I will go over this bit a bit more, but I think the first thing I need to do is just trim it around the edges. It's probably not completely necessary. I just like it to be neat at the edges. It's just me. I just like it to look a bit tidier at the sides. Then I know what I'm working with. I think it just looks nicer. I don't know why, but I am pleased how it's turned out, and I'm having ideas on what else I can do. I think one of the things that Gina said, which is so true, is she said it works best if you stick to a colour scheme, and I think that's probably true, because then you can have it matching whatever you're working with. But also I think it just looks better if it's all coordinated colour. Right, just trim along here a little bit. There's nothing like as nice today as it was yesterday. It was a beautiful day yesterday. Went out for a really nice walk. Only ran the estate as usual, but it still feels better when you're walking in the sunshine, doesn't it? Even if it's the same old places you've been seeing every day. I try to get out most days for a bit of just a brisk walk. It's all about exercise, not about enjoying the scenery really, because there isn't any. But it is about keeping the exercise going. And I've definitely got fitter. That's the one good thing about lockdown for me, is that I have got fitter, which is quite surprising. I've gone all these years, many years, and hardly ever done any exercise. My husband can't believe it. He you know, he's astonished at how much better I am at walking when we go out for our walks together at the weekends. You know, we're going further and faster than we've ever done before. Right, there we are. So I think that looks better. Now I just want to do a little bit more sewing. I've got my sewing machine just here, so I'll bring that in and just do a little bit more around this area. I think this side is pretty okay. It's just this bit around here that's not been quite caught in. So let's just do that. So as always, I always start at the side and finish at the side, so that then when you trim off, you haven't got little bits of thread poking up all over the piece. You can just trim them off at the side. So I've got to try and think. So once you get going, it's a bit like a raging beast. You have to try and keep it under control, which I don't. Sometimes I have to come over to the side just to start to calm it down. Right, here we go. Now I can Right, that's the first piece each time, so I'll come off. Let's just release it a bit. Okay. I'll just wind up the needle so that the needle's always the little doodad that feed it through is always at the top, because then when you go to do it the next time, it's not going to pull all the threads out of the needle. Right, so okay, so so there's this bit here, which quite a lot of the gold thread is not being caught in, so I'm going to have to do that bit. I'll just weave it around. That's looking better. So you can just target where you need the extra little bits of sewing to go. Oh, there's still a little bit of it. It's the gold thread. It's quite hard to catch it all in and keep it all flat. So I'm just going to go in here, I think. Whoops. Alright, let's just go see where I've got to go. Trying to see which bits I need to catch. There's a bit there. Okay, I think this might... No, I've got another bit here. Alright, see if I can manage to catch it all in one pass. I'm hoping that's it now. Ooh. I think my bobbin's run out. I wonder how far it went. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do for now, because I think the bobbin ran out right at the start of that, so I will come back and finish that when I've reloaded my bobbin. I just thought I'd show you how it actually looks when it first gets when you first gets dry, and that it's quite straightforward to just tidy it up. I knew my bobbin was near. I'd refilled my bobbin completely when I started doing this, and it's completely used it up. It just goes to show how much sewing you need to do to get this covered. But I still think I do think it's really effective, and I think it's great. I love it. Anyway, the other thing I was doing while this was drying was, of course, trying out my dyes, as I said in my earlier part of my video. So you saw me do this, just cutting it out by hand, which is quite effective, and I think that there's a few little bits that need catching down, so I might have to do a little bit of sewing around the edge of this just to make sure it's all caught down. But so I love that, and you can do that in whatever size you like, really, and I'll probably do some more of those. But then I wanted to do some die cutting, because I thought die cutting, if it will die cut, gives you more options of shapes, and also is a bit easier than doing it by hand. So the first one I tried was this Sizzix Bigs die, which is the hearts, and it's one of these really big fat ones called Primitive Hearts. And I thought, well, if it was going to work on anything, it would work with one of these, because they're really good. So I'll show you what I got from that, and this is from one pass with these dies, this die, and look at these, aren't they gorgeous? So oh, it's a bit of thread there, doesn't belong, not attached. So that was really effective. That worked brilliantly, and I thought that is great. Unfortunately, I've only got 3 of these. I've got stars and tattered leaves, and I didn't think either of those would be quite what I wanted. So I'm afraid I've gone ahead onto eBay and ordered a couple more. Well, no, I've ordered one more in a flower shape. You know, I wanted just a simple shape, just a simple flower shape. So I ordered one, and I've put a bid in on another one. So who knows if I'll get that one. But yeah, I was really pleased with how that turned out. So then, chuffed with success, I thought I'd try a thin metal die. So I had this one. I haven't got many that are just a nice, you know, shape. I just wanted a flower, really, flower shape, because I thought flowers would be quite nice to do this in. So I tried it with this die, and I have ended up with this, which isn't bad, but I had to do it about 3 times, and each time I had to add, I just had to keep adding layers of card. So I think I ended up with 3 extra layers of cardstock in my, as shims in my layers of all the ball card, all the, what do you call them? The big boards that you put through. It's an electronic machine that I've got. It's not a Sizzix Big Shot or anything like that. And that works best for me because I wouldn't really get on, wouldn't enjoy all the winding. So I had to use three lots of cardstock, put it through, so therefore 3 times, and then I still had to cut it free because it just couldn't cut through the bits of ribbon and the bits of thread, like this bit here I had to cut free. So all the bits inside I had to cut round it. It did sort of did the shape. You could see the shape, but I had to sort of cut it free. And I thought, well, maybe, you know, that's not ideal. Which is why I went on to see if I could find something similar in the Biggs dies, which I did. But it's still, you know, I've still got a usable flower here, so I'm actually quite chuffed that the dies do work. You can make them work, which means you've got a few options of what you can make with these. And I'm already thinking about my friend who I made the sewing journal for. She's got her 60th birthday coming up, and I'm thinking I might be able to do something with this for her card, make her a card as well to go with her journal. Cut out do some really pretty flowers. So you could do, you know, you can use any colour, combination of colours of fabrics and make some really pretty designs. So I'm really, really pleased with this. I've been so excited to do this video and try it out because as soon as I saw Gina's video, I thought I've got to do that. It is just so much fun, and I've really, really enjoyed making it. It's a bit of a process, but I think it's really worth it. I think it's lovely, and so you will see the results of what I do with this in my forthcoming wedding journals, because I shall use these to decorate my pockets and journal cards and bits and pieces. And even when you cut things out, you've still got some really pretty scraps to use to decorate, you know, snippets and things like that. These can all be cut up and reused, so none of it needs to be wasted. So you don't really need, unless you're going to make a journal cover, you don't need it to be a huge piece, because you can get quite a lot out of quite a small piece. I think it was something like an 8x8 square, something like that for the turquoise one. This one is a bit bigger. This one is, let's have a quick look. This one is 9.5 by 8, and I think the other one, so the other one's probably near 8x8. But so you can see you can get quite a lot out of it. And I've still got a piece, got that piece left to cut something out of, and I've got another small piece here, so I can cut a small heart out of this one and a couple of things out of the other one. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. Love it. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me, and do join me again soon. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will be back very soon. Bye.